we will always, or we are not hesitant to not recommend proceeding.
You share
Going
that
back
opinion.
to what we spoke about earlier of quality of tenant versus rental rate, we are not afraid to say, we don't think this is the right tenant for you. Ultimately, it is always the property owner's decision.
Of course.
And they're the one who has to sign off on it. But we're conservative in our recommendations because of everything that we discussed previously.
Are the red flags credit score? Is the red flag their employment history? Or is really the red flag come down to the references?
It's interesting because we were talking about this before as well, where there's not really one thing. In tenant screening in general, or figuring out if a tenant's going to be a good fit, encompasses everything. And some people don't have credit. Some people don't even have a driver's license. Some people don't have, employment. And every single time you have to take into consideration all of the factors to make a decision. We're seeing an increase in fraudulent documents right now. Fake credit reports, fake employment letters. And, it's not like we're, magicians and we can figure this out and we're like, that's a fake credit report based on this pixel there or whatever. But when you take the whole package into consideration and you start to notice red flags of information not making sense, or their addresses on their credit report doesn't line up with their rental application and they had a job in Calgary, but they were dating somebody, or who knows, whatever the case is, there's a whole process that we need to go through and take into consideration all this information. There's not really one thing or another that causes a red flag.
How easy is it to get fraudulent documents? I think, Reuben, you were telling me.
There are Facebook groups that that advertise rental packages that you can buy for $250, $300.
And they'll have somebody even answering a phone.
They'll have people answering the phones. We'll get an employment letter for a well-known company, and the number on the bottom of the letter will only be maybe one digit off of what the actual contact for that company is. And there'll be somebody sitting there on the other end of that phone answering. And a lot of the time, when they pick up right away and say, oh yeah, I know this person, or they make this. If you call into a company, HR takes time. They've got to look up. They've got to go into their internal systems. They've never met the person before.
Yeah. And what company doesn't have an answering machine basically as the first step, right? Press 1 for HR. Press 2 for fraudulent documents.
Ian, did you say answering machine?
You know what I mean?
I haven't seen one of those.
Okay, Ralph, what would you call that?
Years, buddy.
What would you call that then? What is that?
Answering service.
Oh, geez. Okay, answering service.
The machine.
I have another question about this. So you're screening the tenant, and let's just say everything's checking out. So they do have a great job. Their references are great. Their credit score is healthy. What about affordability and rent? And how does that come into play?
Yeah, great question. That's a really, really good question. The average one bedroom last month was just under $2,500 a month in downtown Toronto.
That's
wild.
Crazy.
And if you project that out, all these sort of general rules you'll find on the internet about good rent to income ratio is about 33% of your income. You need to factor in a lot of things here. If somebody's got a credit file where they've got monthly payments for student debt, if they've got a job that is contract, all of these things play into it. It's not uncommon for us to see tenants with a 45, 50% rent to income ratio that are actually great quality candidates. We'd love to see somebody with 20%, but that's not always possible. And based on that $2,500 a month, one bedroom condo, you kind of got to be making like $65,000, $70,000 pre-tax per year in order to really be able to afford this. And that's just mind blowing. My first job, I was making $30,000 a year and somehow managed to afford to live downtown.
Yep.
Affordability is going out of the window right now. And if, companies don't keep up with employees' wages rising, you're going to have to see more tenants moving in, sharing spaces together. That's why we're seeing such an increase in fraudulent documentation.
Well, that's exactly it. It's the number one driver behind selling fraudulent documents. Having somebody say, these people might have jobs. They might have good jobs, but maybe they are making $60,000 a year and they're trying to live by themselves, and they need to maybe they alter their employment letter or make fake pay stubs to show that they're making $80,000 a year in order to earn that, or in order to qualify, really.
Right.
And And we've seen that so many times. It's too many to count.
So are you saying that there's some decent, honest, hardworking fraudsters out there?
There are some decent, honest, hardworking fraudsters that are trying to live in downtown Toronto.
We just have to be fair about that.
Exactly.
Interesting. Interesting.